Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Out of Our League. I can't wait to get to our special guest, but first, Al, the Predator Tribesman, how are you today?
I'm doing great. This is one I've been looking forward to very passionately. I'm not gonna lie. I can't
Absolutely.
wait for this.
This was a very fun one. The way that we got here was, I think, different than any guest we've ever gotten. But we'll talk about that in a minute. Gage, how are you today?
I am doing fantastic.
Awesome. And the guest of honor today, YongYea, how are you today?
Been awesome, man. Thanks so much for having me. It's an honor to be here and excited to just talk about all the stuff we love to talk about, nerd out, and everything. You know what we do.
Thank you for being here. So just a quick little thing. The way we got you on the show is I messaged Ryan Colt Levy and I was like, "Dang it! I can't believe Kind of Funny got YongYea before us. I'm so mad right now."
Because that's our friend. Like Ryan's a legit friend of ours.
He and I talk all the time. One day I'm gonna make a trip out to LA and we're gonna have coffee.
Definitely.
And he responded like, well, I mean, I could make a DM and introduce you guys. And I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, Ryan and I were really good friends. He was like really the first voice actor to like really welcome me into the community, if you will. Like I announced that I was casting the show Welcome to Demon School Iruma-kun, which he's also part of, and then he just reached out and said, "Hey, you just want to go and get a coffee or something?" I'm like, "I don't know who you are, but yes, let's do it." I don't know anybody in LA, and we just hit it off. He's a great guy, and yeah, happy he could connect us.
Yeah, I believe you guys saw Top Gun Maverick together, if I remember correctly.
Oh man, yeah, a couple weeks ago. Great movie. I don't know if you guys have seen it yet.
I haven't yet. I've been a little scared to go to theaters. I think I've seen one movie so far, but it's getting better now. I feel like when you know what days to go on.
Definitely. But yeah, that movie crossed like $1 billion mark and stuff. It's been doing super well. Tom Cruise's highest grossing movie, but yeah, it's actually pretty good. We enjoyed it.
That's awesome. Yeah, Ryan, I think, has to be one of the most nice, compassionate, and amazing individuals in the business right now. If he isn't everywhere and in everything in the next 5 years, I don't know who's casting over there.
No, he's gonna go places. Both his talent and his ability to connect people and just be generous and kind and show humility, like it's that stuff goes a long way. So man, I can't wait to see where he goes.
So we on the panel today, we almost always have co-guests on the show. But I think everyone today is a pretty big fan of your YouTube channel. Most of the people who watch this show are fans of Kind of Funny. That's how they know us. That's how we got our start. The whole reason this YouTube channel started was because of a joke video we made about Nick Scarpino. And so that's where most people know us from. But I've actually been watching your YouTube channel since your breakdown of the Phantom Pain trailer.
Man,
when we were still like analyzing the text that wasn't there, and if you put the logo in the slots of the
God, yeah. Do you remember that? Good old days. God, I remember.
I actually go ahead.
Yeah, I remember seeing that VGA trail. I'm like, that mullet sure looks familiar, but all right, some what is it, Moby Dick Studios, interesting, never heard of him. And then somebody brought, wait a minute, what are these slots? Why does Metal Gear Solid V fit so perfectly? And then I'm like, nope, this is Kojima. This is 100% him.
Yeah,
right, let's do this.
Went back and I found that video, and it was back from 2012. So over a decade of Yong in my life.
Fantastic reminder of my mortality. Excellent. Oh my God, it's been already 10 years since then. Jesus.
And here I was getting ready to brag about the fact that I was listening and following Yong before he became a voice actor. Jesus, that's like nothing.
That's old school. Yeah, no, Metal Gear was like the game that I really started covering in full force before I kind of expanded more to just general, games industry stuff. But man, those are the good old days. I'm still waiting for something substantial to happen with Metal Gear so I can go back to analyzing trailers again because I miss that stuff.
It was really funny. For all of 5 minutes, we kind of got there with the abandoned stuff before I think all
Right?
realize that is just a nightmare project from an unproven developer.
Yeah. I hope something comes of that is more than just a scam, but it's looking like the probability of that happening is looking smaller and smaller with every passing.
Every single time that man opens his mouth.
It's bad. It's bad. Yeah.
Oh man. It was nice though. It was really nice to see that. So, uh, I want to go through kind of what got you started. What made you want to start a YouTube channel?
Yeah.
Is that something that you always thought you were going to do? Did you start doing it on the side? Were you going to school for something else before you decided to start?
So
And who is
yeah.
YongYea?
Oh man, who is YongYea? He's a Venezuelan, Korean, American YouTuber slash voice actor. And in terms of how I got started with YouTube, it was kind of by accident. I did a lot of theater back in the day, and I was auditioning for this musical where I was supposed to put on a British accent. And I'm like, all right, I need to see how good my British accent actually is. And who's going to be actually honest with me? If I, go to my friends, they'll be nice about it, but like I want honest feedback. Oh yeah, the internet. They don't mince words. So yeah, let's I decided, let's start a channel, upload some videos in a British accent, talk about games because I like talking about games. Sure, I'll just do that and see what the reception is. People who were from the UK, let's just say they knew I was a fake, I was a poser. So back in the day, my British accent wasn't very good. But as I kept doing this, uploading videos and doing gaming news, eventually I dropped the dumb British accent. And I was like, wait a minute, this is like really fun. I actually want to like keep doing this, see where it goes. Back then, it wasn't necessarily common knowledge that you could make a career out of YouTube. That landscape has changed a lot over the years and has become a lot more prominent over the years. But back then, I just did it as a hobby while I was, still studying in college. But then it started picking up, and then, an MCN approached me like, you could like make money off of these videos and like actually make a career out of it. I'm like, word? Okay. And so eventually I just really started focusing on the content. Now, I used to be an all A student kind of guy, but then I started losing interest in my studies in college. I went from an A student to like a B student. My parents weren't happy about that, but whatever, it worked out. But yeah, as I noticed, like this is what I care about. Why shouldn't I just like go all in on this thing that I'm clearly more passionate about than this other thing that I'm wasting time and money on? So I did 2 years of college, dropped out, and I'm like, all right, YouTube full time. Let's see where it goes. Do theater on the side as well. But like a couple years later, I had to drop theater once YouTube got way too busy. But the channel eventually started, getting more of a following with Metal Gear, especially. That's when I sort of became known, if you will. But then once that expanded into general more games industry coverage and game reviews and just all kinds of gaming news, my channel really took off from there. And I'm fortunate enough now to, be in this awesome position.
That's awesome.
Can I just say, like, you're one of the very few, like, I would put you side by side with Review Tech USA, where it's just you have a talking head channel. That's all you do, and somehow through your charisma, through your character, it's just amazing to watch. Honestly, as a subscriber, I am not shitting you right here. Like, what do you think played the biggest factor in getting to you to where you are with just your personality being like the biggest kind of factor, like to differentiate you from the competition, if that makes any sense?
Yeah. Well, that's very, very flattering of you. I appreciate that. I think the key is everyone is unique in their own way, and it's about not trying to hide that. Really, I'm just presenting who I am. And I the way I like to present information is how I like to consume information. I like detailed breakdowns of things. I like something that's not too like screaming in your face all the time. I like something that's very measured and just looking at the facts and then giving some takes here and there. And it's like that's the kind of content that I gravitate more towards. And it's sort of my personality as well. And so I'm just presenting who I am. And, a lot of people do gaming news and stuff like that, but they go to different people based on, whose personalities appeal to them. And to have that variety is, I think, one of the great things about YouTube is like different unique people get to be their unique selves and be a part of this genre, but in their own unique way. And so the way I do it is just, I don't try to put on anything. I just kind of go, how do I like to make content and how do I think people like to consume my content? And, not some people find me boring. Some people prefer the more high energy stuff. Others,
No.
prefer my stuff because they're not as into the super high energy stuff and prefer something that's a little more measured. So it's like different, different cups of teas for everyone, really. And so people can find their preferences. And fortunately enough, people seem to like the way I do it, And I think it's just about that honesty and just about just being genuine. And people gravitate towards you and will want to hang out with you.
You'd be surprised how many people find that very genuine because. I shit you not. This is exactly my version of the story that I lived about maybe 4 years ago when I was just getting into your content. My girlfriend at the time would walk past me watching and listening to you and say,
Yeah.
"I love his voice."
Ah.
And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" No. This is a true story. I shit you not. I can fucking call her right now. I don't give a shit. She would say, "I love his voice," and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "I listened to this guy about just talking about video game news and shit." She's like, "No, he has the most soothing voice." And then 2-3 years later, here you are doing VO for the biggest anime dubs of all time.
Jojo baby.
Honestly. So as far as I'm concerned, she discovered you. Props to her.
She saw something in me that I didn't see in myself.
Honestly, she would come back and be like, "Hey, you're listening to that guy, right?" It was the most amazing thing. It was very, very beautiful. And for me to experience you doing the VO afterwards, I was like, "Oh, it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense." So,
well, please
I just had to throw this out there.
Well, please give her my regards and tell her I appreciate the kind sentiments. And
Absolutely. She's gonna be watching this, by the way. So
awesome. Well, thank you
That's
for
awesome.
watching this. That's very kind of you. But yeah, acting is something that I've always just been into, and voice acting is sort of that perfect marriage of both the gaming medium that I love and acting. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I just say though, I did not hear that in your content.
Yeah.
It took a different brain sort of programmed version of a different person to be like, "Hey, I don't know what he's talking about, but that voice is soothing." And I was just like, it's a very beautiful thing to me, honestly. And it changed the way I would consume your content for since that moment. Absolutely.
The two best voices on YouTube are Vati Vidya and YongYea. I'm just saying it.
I don't know. There are plenty of amazing vocal qualities out there. I think Markiplier has a really great resonant voice. I don't know. There's a lot of great unique voices out there, and what matters is embracing your own uniqueness and running with it instead of trying to be somebody else. I think that's really what people are drawn to. It's just genuine connection.
I do agree, though. Markiplier's voice is pretty awesome. But
yeah, it's great, man.
So I think one of the things that I really love about your content is that you're always sourcing your content.
Yeah.
With proof, with actual articles, highlights from the articles.
Yeah.
So it's not just I read this thing and I'm going to talk about it. You're actually showing it while you're talking about it. And I think that's something that I always loved about watching your stuff and how much effort you put into the video side of it, just as much as the the talking points and how much research you're doing for each story, which brings me to one of the more not controversial parts of your YouTube career, but one of the most interesting, which is when you got called out by oh my god, I'm blanking on his name right now.
Jason Schreier?
Yes, Jason Schreier. Thank you. And he would, it was the whole game engine thing, and he, you guys had the back and forth on Twitter, and then you were like, "Hey, come on the show, let's talk." And you guys talked for an hour and a half, I think.
A decent amount of time.
Yeah, and by the end of it, you guys were basically shaking hands, I see both sides,
Yeah.
And it was really cool. It was just really cool to see that.
Yeah, but then this was followed up by a sequence of tweets where I don't know, he insulted me because of the comments. He's like, "Oh, these comments is a reflection of." I'm like, if you want to go that way after shaking hands, then what we just did was for naught. It just
no, I missed that.
Oh. Yeah. So, but at the end of the day, yeah, I mean that was a long time ago, and I still like respect Jason's work. I think his reporting and the investigations that he does is all very important to kind of expose aspects of the industry that could be better. And a lot of change has happened, I think, because of his reporting and what he's brought to light. So in that sense, I respect all that. But yeah, like that whole situation was not a pleasant one. He kind of took semantics way out of context. Yeah. And just like, provocateur YongYea, he said this about game engines when it's actually this. But I'm like, you kind of know what I mean. You're just like nitpicking at this point. But like, fair enough. He has his opinions. I have mine. And at the end of the day, I just kind of moved on from all that.
And let's be honest, when you look at Starfield, you can still see the architecture of that engine shining through, even though they've put a brand new layer of paint over it, and it does look better, but you can still see those same mechanical flaws that have been there.
That's literally what I meant when I said Bethesda needs to like overhaul their engine or a new engine, where it's they can't just keep taping up this rocky foundation, keep adding Band-Aid to it. They have to like just really work on something new and polished, because Starfield, it shows like it's just a better version of the creation engine, which means a lot of the flaws from like the combat flaws come across in Starfield. It looks like Fallout 4, Fallout 76 levels of like, okay, it doesn't feel as impactful as it should. It just, they need to like spruce that up. And that was just all I was saying at the time.
In recent years, I think people have seen you kind of be harder on Bethesda because, let's be honest, like they haven't been producing the quality that we're used to as of late.
What are you talking about? Remember the one game they put out recently that was like super big?
Oh, no.
And neither do I. I'm sorry.
Oh no. Dang it. Okay,
this is coming from our resident. This is coming from our resident Todd Howard fan.
Well, so that's actually what I was going to bring up. Is one of your big starts was like Skyrim videos and stuff. So
correct.
What is your start with like Bethesda, and how did you get into their games?
Yeah, I mean, look, Bethesda games do have a special place in my heart, and that's why I care so much about their future. That's why I care so much about like calling out their crap and saying, please be better, because I remember a time when I loved all your games. The first game I ever played from them was Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, which to me is still like my favorite Elder Scrolls game, weirdly. I know a lot of people go with Morrowind because of its more sort of like weird landscapes and more alien looking kind of thing. And Skyrim is more of that like tough Nordic kind of vibe. But there's something about that just like pure fantasy Oblivion that just really resonates with me. And the Gray Fox questline, I remember, was something that, I just love going through as, someone who likes to play thieves and stealthy builds, and that's why I guess I love Metal Gear so much.
Oblivion is the best out of out of those three, I would have to say.
Yeah.
That changed video games for me, to be honest. Because when I saw Oblivion on my 360, it was just like, what? I have this entire world. I can,
Same for me. I've never, for the time, that was the most open world game I'd ever played. Like I could literally go anywhere and do anything and tackle things in whatever order. It was so just like make your own adventure kind of feeling. And we've come a long way since, obviously, technologically, graphically, design-wise, and all these things. But man, that game, I felt like it was ahead of its time. And from there, I played at Morrowind and Fallout 3 and 4 and Skyrim. I started playing all the Bethesda games. And, they're relatively similar in format. They're all sort of those open world games where you talk to NPCs, take quests, you have... and they're mechanically different here and there, and the setting's obviously different, but I love the Bethesda format, and I'm curious to see what Starfield is all about with, being able to build your own spaceship and go to the different planets. 1,000 planets, that sounds ridiculous to me. I don't feel like that's going to really pan out.
4 major cities.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I feel like a handful of planets will have a lot of, like...
Don't get me wrong. I am super excited for Starfield. It's just so easy to kind of, like, look at things and go, wait... Are we sure this is going to be as big and expansive?
I'm sure like the core planets are going to be just as expansive as previous games. Like that's going to be your, here's your big handcrafted detailed stuff. But then here's all the procedural stuff we're putting in just to kind of fill in. Because that's something I love about Bethesda games. but I always want more. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
Fallout 4's Commonwealth is fun, but you get to the edge of the map
Mhm.
and it's like, why can't I go there? I can see it. I just want to go there.
Yeah.
I don't care if there's like nothing there except for some caves, enemies, and some loot, but
Sure.
I want to explore that. So it's
Yeah, yeah,
probably gonna
yeah.
be something like that. I hope.
I have
Yeah,
no
yeah.
doubt that this game's gonna be massive. Absolutely
Absolutely.
massive.
And I'm curious to see how they handle the procedural stuff, because like 1,000 planets, that almost sounds like too much. It's like it's just how many times can you explore a planet and like do the same kinds of activities before it just gets boring and you don't really feel like exploring all 1,000 planets or whatever. So it's
Todd,
like if they can somehow handle the procedural stuff well enough, or it does add a decent amount of variety to each of the planets you visit, then maybe they'll miraculously pull it off and make it worth it.
Yeah.
Todd did say that some of the planets are going to be just like barren, so you can build and have freedom to build on them and stuff
Right,
too.
right.
So not every planet's going to have like a crazy adventure
Mhm.
to go on,
And
but
I'm sure there's
I
gonna
do think
be
there's going to be a
there's gonna
ton
be
of
like
content.
quests and stuff because that's one thing they've been working on since Skyrim was their the Radiant quest system where it's just
Right.
randomized stuff. So I'm hoping they've improved it a bit because it's even Fallout 4,
Yeah.
it's a bit repetitive where it's like, hey, I need you to go find this thing, and it's like I've found 17 of these for you
Yeah.
already. Do it yourself. But
I think, yeah, I remember with Skyrim and the Dark Brotherhood, when you finish that quest line, eventually you just get a bunch of like, go assassinate this random NPC that we've procedurally generated, and that becomes the
yeah.
whole
Same
loop
with
from
the,
then
the
on.
Thieves Guild when you're trying to like complete
Right.
everything. It's like if you want to restore it to its former glory, you have to do, however
Yeah.
many randomized quests in every single city, and it's like, okay, fine, I'll do it. I did it.
Yeah.
I did it multiple times, but yeah, it's annoying.
Yeah. If they can expand upon that and make it a little more complex and substantial, maybe the 1,000 planets thing could work. But I'm a little skeptical about. It feels one of those like 16 times the details kinds of like marketing things you say instead of something that is really super additive to the game. But we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
I have all high hopes. Like I really hope the game just comes out and just absolutely nails it because
Me
Bethesda
too.
needs a big win. Obviously, their
I agree.
side studios have been doing great stuff for a long time. But I just want that Bethesda GameWorks game to have another. I want them to have another Skyrim.
Yeah, I want to
Um,
feel what I felt when I first played Oblivion. I want to,
yeah,
I want that Bethesda to come back. And I really wish them the best. Despite my criticisms, I don't wish them ill. I criticize because I care.
yeah.
If I didn't care, I just wouldn't even pay attention to them. But I pay attention because they have a special place in my heart, and they need to come back.
And that's why I wanted to bring that up is because I wanted to show that positivity because we just kind of started bagging on them a little bit right when we
Right.
got out the gate there. So speaking of video games, like where was your start in video games as far as like when did you get started playing them? Because if I remember
Yeah.
correctly, it was a little bit later in life, right?
Uh,
Um,
for me, it was. I mean, I've been playing games since I was like a toddler, basically. Like since
okay.
I was.
Or was it just Metal Gear that you got into later then?
Yeah, Metal Gear I got a bit later. Like Metal Gear Solid
Can
2
we
had come out. Yeah.
can we get a little bit of geography while you're doing this? While you're doing your history of video games, please?
Yeah. I was born in Venezuela. And
Nice.
yeah, the first language that I mastered was Spanish. Korean came along because my parents are Korean, and then they would speak to us in Korean at home. And then English I learned by being tutored from first to second grade, and then from third to eighth grade there was this American school in Venezuela. They just kind of threw me in. They're like, "All right, learn English and be surrounded by Americans." And I'm like, "Well, I guess if I don't learn English, I'll just sink." So it was sink or swim. And once you're surrounded by an environment where you have to speak the language, you pick it up pretty quickly, especially when you're that young. So that's how I mastered English. And I mean, through all my years, I've been playing games. The first game that I remember playing, I think, is Mega Man 3 on the NES. And this was, I mean, I think I was like 5 years old, maybe. I honestly don't know. It's a blur at that
What
far
year
back.
were you
but-
born?
I was born in 1992, so I'm exactly 30 now. Ugh, God, 30. Ugh. That's one of those ages where you're like, as a kid, you're like, I'll never reach 30. That's like so far away. That's this legendary myth that's never going to happen. And then you reach and you're like, well, okay, it's time to consider mortality a little more. But no, but honestly, I don't remember a time when I wasn't playing video games except when I was too young to walk and talk, basically. But as soon as I could hold a control in my hands, I just kind of went for it. My parents eventually, though, they try to cut back on the video game stuff. They bought us an N64, but I never got to the whole GameCube, PlayStation 2 generation, Xbox generation. I basically skipped that because my parents didn't buy me that console. So I had to rely on my friends, go to their houses and play games, over there, play Super Smash Brothers Melee and Metroid Prime and Mario Sunshine. I played at other friends' houses, PlayStation 2 games as well. But eventually I came to a place where I started making my own money through YouTube and everything, and I started now like catching up and buying all the consoles that I couldn't play before. So I played a lot of PC games because of that. We needed a computer. We're getting to that digital age. And so I had this compact Presario where I first loaded up Metal Gear Solid on a CD-ROM, and that changed everything about my perception of like, oh man, this is where games are headed. This is not a toy anymore. These are experiences now.
That's how I played Final Fantasy VII and Metal Gear Solid. We're both on PC.
Me too.
Oh, let's go to Metal Gear Solid. This is a perfect segue. Yes. How did you stumble upon that?
Yeah, so this was still in Venezuela, and there was a friend of mine who lived in this apartment complex that we lived in, and I happened to go to his house just to hang out, and I saw this box art on a disc compartment.
Was it the white, red lettering?
Yes, white, red lettering, and the Yoji Shinkawa art on the front. With Solid Snake. And that the Yoji Shinkawa art is kind of like what drew my eyes. I'm like, whoa, whoever drew that, that's really cool. But then Metal Gear Solid, tactical stealth action. What is it?
Espionage.
Yeah, there we go. I saw that and I'm like, okay, whatever this is, this looks cool. Can I borrow it? And he's like, yeah, I already finished it. You can check it out, give it back whenever.
How old are you?
I actually, man, I don't remember. By this point we're in Caracas, so I must have been 10 years, 9 or 10 years old.
You said you found it after Metal Gear Solid 2, which would have been 2002, so that you would have been 10 or 11.
Yeah, 10 or 11. Metal Gear Solid 2 had come out. I hadn't discovered Metal Gear at all, but I remember finishing Metal Gear Solid 1, and then knowing another friend who had Metal Gear Solid 2 going, I need to borrow Metal Gear Solid 2 ASAP. I need to play this next game ASAP. So yeah, I must have been 10 around there. And I booted it up, and I remember, that first cutscene that plays when Snake is swimming and, underwater, and you hear the best is yet to come, that kicking in, and I'm already what is happening? I'm already I've never played anything this cinematic. And, a Snake comes up on the platform, this is Snake, Colonel, can you hear me? The voice acting was just immediately captivating. And that's when I was like, I'm in for a ride here. Whatever this is, nothing's been built like this cinematically. And that's when I saw games were evolving to the next stage of evolution. And it changed my life.
That's awesome.
I don't know if it's going to keep
I'm trying to read what it is.
Oh my God. Yeah.
But this is
a demo disc?
Yeah. Is that the demo disc?
Holy crap.
You're going to have to read it for us.
Video broadcast keeps blurring it out. But yeah, it's got Crash Bandicoot Warped, Medieval, Metal Gear Solid, Gran Turismo, and Tomb Raider 3. I played... This was Metal Gear Solid for me until I got a PS3. That was the first time I was able to actually play the full game. So I played the demo of it. I don't even know.
How far does the demo go up to?
It goes all the way until you get to the cell. The DARPA chief dies, and then that's where the demo is. So you have the full intro, and there's a little Easter egg in it.
Yeah.
So if you get your SOCOM pistol, you leave that area, and then you go back to where you get the SOCOM pistol, you can find the Nikita launcher in the demo. So they give you it early just so you can go around and shoot bad guys with it. It's so good.
God, the good old days, man. Demo discs, and those demos were substantial. They really didn't.
Remember the ones that came with magazines?
Man, yeah, I do. I would look forward to buying those magazines just to try new games that my parents wouldn't buy me. And I was stuck with demos for a lot of games.
I'm gonna have to take over for a second. So all of a sudden, you're in a bathroom.
Where's this going?
I'm intrigued.
Can you hear that? I don't know if you could. Okay. So the best way of meeting a certain someone
Oh, I see where this is going. Are you talking about?
I am a true fan. I am a true fan. Look,
Yes,
I'm
yes.
not kidding you. So,
Yeah.
if you could meet that one person in a any setting you had to pick, and then for that noise to happen in your head, it happened to you. What the fuck, Yong? What the fuck? Tell us all about it.
So I'm assuming you're referring to my first like real encounter with Hideo Kojima, where I got to like actually talk to him.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. This was E3 2018, I want to say, or 2019, maybe 2018 or 2019. Kojima was promoting Death Stranding at the time, and I had been invited backstage to the PlayStation media area.
How did you get the PlayStation? How did you get the Sony people to let you in? If you don't mind me asking.
Yeah, well, I at that point I had reviewed a number of PlayStation games. My channel was established enough where I was, prominent media presence. So before E3, I contact companies and go, hey, I'm going to be at E3. I'm interested in doing coverage. If you want to have me for anything, just let me know. And PlayStation was interested in me going there and like seeing some of the behind closed doors demos or playing. So I remember that's where I played the Marvel Spider-Man PS4 demo for the first time.
Oh my god!
And I was like, I immediately knew right there, this game's going to be special. Just the web sling felt amazing. Everything looked awesome. But yeah, the Hideo Kojima was also, he had his own little private room in that area, which I didn't know at the time. But I was just kind of chilling there for a bit. I think I'd finished watching a Last of Us Part 2 behind the scenes thing. And then I was like, man, I really just need to go. And so I just went to the bathroom that was nearby. And, I did the deed, if you will. Started washing my hands. And then I hear this voice on my left where I'm like, wait, yeah, the exclamation comes up on the top of my head. The sound plays in my ear, everything.
Could you think of a more perfect kind of like scenario where you would run into Kojima? It was in a bathroom.
Yeah.
And it was just like...
Yeah, and Kojima loves his bathroom jokes and all that. I guess.
Right.
But he comes in from the left with his translator, and he recognizes me because he's seen my coverage, and we had very briefly we crossed paths the previous E3, but we didn't really converse. He just kind of turned around, said hi, and then kept walking because he was in a rush. But he recognized me. So this time we actually had the time to talk. And so he recognized me and I went, oh, Mr. Kojima. I went to shake his hands, not realizing my hand had just washed and it was wet. I hadn't wiped it yet. And I gave him a nice old wet handshake. And I saw him go, okay. Hi, yes. And wiping his hand. I'm like, fuck. Well, there you go. You fucked it up. You're done. But hopefully, Kojima, if you're watching this, nothing unsavory was on my hands. Just water with soap. If anything, I sanitize your hands before you did your deed. But yeah,
that turned into something bigger, afterwards, right?
Yeah. And then after that, I went back to the PlayStation area. Kojima came back, and he went into his private room, and he got these chopsticks, and then a Kojima Productions flag, sort of, I guess, merch that he just had laying around, and he just came out and he said, "Hey, just for you, just wanted to say thank you for your enthusiasm for this for the series, for my work and everything." They're right here, actually. These are handed to me by Hideo Kojima at the event, and I was kind of really taken aback that he, even take the opportunity to do that, and then he just asked me, hey, how'd you like the trailer? Which that was the first gameplay trailer where you saw Sam Porter Bridges walking through these landscapes, and the first time we got a hint of this is going to be like a Delivery Man game. And I was like, man, I thought it was beautiful. I thought it was really artistic, and the music and everything was just really well done, and I gave me the feels, and we just kind of talked for a bit, and then Kojima had to go. He was a busy guy and part of a busy day. But yeah, we had this nice little moment, and then I took a picture with him. I had to ask, and he was gracious enough to allow me to do that. And we went our separate ways, and it was one of the coolest days ever because Kojima's
the feel for you to be recognized by the fucking Hideo Kojima.
Yeah. I wasn't expecting it. That first time we like crossed paths, I thought,
No, for him to know who you are, though, Yong. That's gotta be fucking.
Yeah. I guess eventually the social media managers or the community managers just started showing him my content. Like, here's a guy who's doing like pretty much the most extensive coverage of your games, and he must have seen my content at some point, and he was really grateful and gracious about it. And I expressed what a big fan I am and how much his games have changed my life.
It had to be nice for him to have a respectful individual that he got to interact with instead of someone like Greg Miller, Wait,
what happened with Greg?
Oh no, Greg is just always Greg, so he's always just bombastic and big and American. So
you played 1-2 Switch with him, right?
That's right. Yeah, him and Kojima are apparently like friends to a degree, where they just meet up sometimes and do weird things together and just tweet about it, and
yeah, whether it's interviews or doing fun stuff. But I'll never turn down a chance to knock on Greg Miller. So
fair enough. He's a cool guy, really cool guy, very humble. He's got that like child at heart but really wise kind of vibe, where he's very mature and very like polite and very considerate, but is like recently he showed up in that Mega 64 video where he did I don't know if you saw the Dragon Ball live action recreation where he showed up and started doing the give my energy to Goku thing. And
that wasn't the first time he was in a Mega 64 video either.
Oh man, he's been doing it for a while. Like there's a video from like a decade ago or something where it was I think it was
talk about a gamer. Talk about a gamer, like a fucking gamer, like a guy who knows what.
Kojima's been with those videos for a while, but no, he's always down to clown, if you will, but also just has incredible knowledge and very studied and has really interesting points of view on life and society and the world, and always evokes that very very poignantly in his games, and it's something that I really appreciate, something that makes his work really unique.
Honestly, I worry about his health because he is like always posting about a book that he read, a movie that he watched, like a game that he played, this thing that he liked on the internet, this like retweeting people's fan art and all this other stuff, and on this at the same time working probably ungodly, hopefully better now that he's working at his own company, but ungodly hours sometimes working on the video games for us.
I mean, he recently tweeted something like, I've been working a lot and there's some things that have happened that have made me depressed, but I forget the rest of the tweet. It ended on a hopeful note, but he's very he's a perfectionist, and when he sees something, it's like, man, that's so good. He both like appreciates it, but gets depressed because he's like, I wish I could have come up with that. I wish I was that good, But I'm like, you are good, dude.
You are that good, yeah.
Yeah. You make some of the most unique stuff out there that has some of the most unique impact. And so I think Kojima needs to give himself more credit. And I hope we want him to be able to have that creative drive for as long as possible, to grace us with his creativity in the gaming landscape, especially for as long as possible. So I hope he's healthy and doing well and ultimately fulfilled by this venture of an indie studio that he's established, which seems to be doing really well for itself. So I wish him the best because he deserves it.
I remember a little while back he posted that he was going to the hospital, and in America, when you say you're going to the hospital, you like think the worst, right? Like, no, your appendix is exploding. Oh, you just got into a car crash. Like, but from what I understand, in Japan, it's more like, oh, I'm going to see the doctor.
I'm gonna
go get a
checkup or something. Yeah. I see. Okay.
Everyone in the American Twitter comments were all like, "Oh no!" And then,
are you okay?
Like, other people were like, "No, he's just saying he's getting a checkup. Like, it's not that big of a deal."
Okay, well, good.
So hopefully he's doing okay.
Yeah. He seems to be doing all right. Yeah.
So then from here, you've been covering video games and you've been really enjoying what you're doing, but you decide to make a voice reel. And I want to hear about that experience a little bit, because that's something that I would love to start doing more is get into like making my own voice reel is something I've been trying to figure out. But anyway, so you decide you're going to make your own voice reel, you get the website started, you move to LA, you tell your family you're moving to LA.
Yeah.
How does all that stuff go down? What was that like? And then to top it all off, all of a sudden you're doing all that and go into the pandemic.
Oh man, yeah. I basically moved to LA right before, like a couple months before the pandemic hit. But yeah, I was supposed to make the move back in 2017, but I made the move in 2019. By 2017, I was pretty eager to I missed acting. I had to take a break from theater because YouTube got so big, but I really started missing acting, and I figured, something that's less time consuming, but I'm able to really flex my muscles and still interact with the medium that I love, gaming and animation, all these things, voice acting, perfect. And so I just started doing it as a hobby at first, auditioning for mods and indie projects, and just not even getting paid for it, just getting my feet wet and seeing if I liked the very act of voice acting. And when I realized I was really loving it, I was like, all right, I got to do this. I got to go for this to fulfill just my happiness, if you will. And I was supposed to move in 2017, but I wanted to wait until the YouTube channel felt more established. I was like, I want to reach 1 million subs before I, move. I want to finish what I started here and then move on to the next thing. And 2017 was when my channel really started growing to the point where I'm like, 1 million is in sight. That's actually possible for me. And so I spent sort of 2 more years just fully focused on that. And once I got to over 1 million subs, that was around 2019. That's when I'm like, all right, it's time. Let's see what happens. And so on May of 2019, moved to LA, did all the E3 coverage stuff and settled in. But then in late 2019, that's when I set up my website. I looked up, if you want to start doing voice acting, I want to become a voiceactor.com by D. Bradley Baker is a great website. And he basically, a lot of the stuff that's highlighted, there's just be ready to kick off running, have a website, have the demo reels, have everything in place so that when you do start outreaching to other, to casting directors or casting studios or rosters, that, they'll see that you're ready to work instead of, you kind of easing your way in. And so I made sure I had everything set up. My demo reels were made by, and it's recommended that you make your demo reels from a professional, that you hire a professional to make your demo reels instead of making your own, because they're able to look at it from sort of an outside perspective and see where your strengths lie. And it isn't just they are audio engineers. They direct you as well in your performance while they're making your demo reels. And they also write the scripts for you. So you don't have to take care of that, and they can write scripts that are relevant because trends are constantly changing in terms of what kind of acting style is more prominent with video games versus animation versus anime. Anime is more heightened, animation's a little more animated, but then video games are a little more grounded and more realistic. So it's having those different flavors in your demo reels. All of that stuff's taken care of by the demo reel producers who are in the industry and know what should be included in a demo reel, in what order, at what pace, what performances you should start out with, and ensure that you're showing off as much range both in your vocal quality and your performance quality, high pitch angry or low pitch happy, whatever it is. Go on, make the demo reel, have the listener go on this journey. It's this roller coaster of whoa, constant whiplash is man, this guy can pull off a lot of great voices and performances. And so they can take care of all of that. It does cost a couple $1,000s usually to get a couple demo reels produced, but it's worth it. It is your calling card. It is your business card. It is what's going to get you in the door. That's the step you're going to take to be all right, I'm going to do this professionally. But at the same time, don't just rush into making your demo reels, because no amount of audio engineering will make you sound like a better performer. You have to be a good actor first and foremost. It's not about voice. A lot of people say I have a great voice and all that, but that's not what got me in the door. It's all the acting experience that I had over the years, theater especially. I did 8 years of theater straight through before I even considered voice acting, and that just made me a better actor. Without the acting chops, they're not going to cast you. So once you're sure enough that you're I'm a good enough actor to compete with the Troy Bakers and the Nolan Norths and the all the prominent voice actors out there, then get your demo reel made instead of wasting a couple $1,000s on demo reels that are substandard and that you're going to show off, and then casting directors or rosters or studios are going to be like, and you make a bad first impression, which is not good. So that was important to me, to make the jump only when I was sure, and I thought at that point I'm good enough, and it's like, it almost sounds cocky, but you have to have a healthy amount of ego, I think, as an actor, a healthy amount of like, I am good at what I do, to give you confidence, but not so much that you get cocky and think you can't learn anything new, or that you've peaked as an actor and you're better than everyone. That's when you just stifle yourself. So yeah, I felt I was in a good enough place to make the demo reels. Fortunately, they turned out really good, and once I started sending those out, I started getting some auditions from a Bang Zoom, who do JoJo. They're among the first to welcome me into their roster and send me auditions for animes. But then once I got my first role, eventually, the ball starts rolling. People start hearing about you and your work, and then other studios start sending you auditions. And then as you get more roles and you build up that repertoire, that resume, you kind of, you get going. And even then, though, it's the grind of like auditioning, and so there are moments of feast, moments of famine. Some good months, some bad months. It's all luck combined with talent, and ensuring that. Luck for me is when opportunity meets preparation. So when the opportunity comes, you got to be prepared to seize them. But it's a bit of luck is definitely a factor, So yeah, it's a lot. I don't know. It's very non-specific there. There's no recipe. Everyone has a different story for how they got into voice acting. This has kind of been my personal journey.
I really wanted to ask about the demo reel because it's really good. Your demo reel.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
And you were the first person, I think, when doing research and stuff, that I saw who had a demo reel that wasn't from prior experience, essentially. Mm-hmm. Like it was something that, as you said, was fabricated and made for you to lead off and perform. Mm-hmm. Where it's, because that's always the hard part, right? Is if you have no experience, how do you, or not no experience, but if you don't have any roles that you've ever had before to reference for a demo reel, how do you get that stuff out there for people to look at you? And then, of course, the other part, like you said, is experience, whether it's through not necessarily roles that you got cast in, but things like theater, things like doing
improv,
improv, or taking classes.
Yep.
And taking a class is probably the number one suggestion that I've gotten over the past few years of doing this, is take a class. If you take a class, a lot of the time you're going to do performances for those class. Oftentimes those performances are recorded, and you can use those for your demo reel. And all of this is just, I like getting this information out there because it is something that I am passionate about and that I really love to look into. Obviously, voice acting has been a huge part of my life. Not, me voice acting, but just voice acting in general. Since I was young, because I loved anime, I loved video games. And when you have these incredible characters like Metal Gear, David Hayter as Snake, you hear them and you're like, wow, this is incredible. Like, these performances are making me feel emotions. I would love to make people feel those emotions. So I see these things, and I like to just kind of ask every single actor that we get on the show like those sorts of questions, because all that information can be utilized by other people who watch the show. So thank you for that.
Yeah, of course. Just be ready to put your unique self out there. The industry could always use fresh blood, because new characters come from new people who come into the industry, and everyone is different. And the instrument of your acting is you as a person and your life experiences and all these things that's uniquely to you. That's all uniquely tailored to you, because no two people are the same. And that's to your benefit. Don't worry about, that person has a deeper, more resonant voice than I do. Doesn't matter. Like don't hate your voice. Like, if you think you have a weird voice, it probably means you have a unique voice, something interesting to offer that nobody else can offer. And that can be a character, trust me. There's so much variety of characters out there that if you're a good actor and really take the craft seriously, regardless of your vocal quality, there is a role out there for you to uniquely express that character. And so, like, be confident in yourself, and don't compare yourself to others. Find what about you has the strengths to be able to bring certain types of characters to life that others couldn't. And yeah, just go for it and have fun.
When Ryan was on the show, he talked about, one of the things that he is big, not big for, but like that he talks about is that, he started voice acting in his 30s.
Yeah.
So age isn't necessarily something that can hamper you.
Nope.
But what I loved about him talking about it was he said specifically, I don't know if I could have done this in my early 20s or my mid 20s even.
Mm.
It took all of my life experience, just like you were saying just now, all of my life experience to get to the point where I feel like I could express all of the emotions that are required of me.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so resonant.
That's a very good way to put it. What you put out there as an actor comes from what you fill your life with. So one of the things that I think you should do as an actor is experience life. Do as much as you can. See as much of the world. Because from that, you will draw things that you can then use to express things that without those experiences, you wouldn't be able to know how to express because you haven't experienced those things yet. So yeah, just filling your life vessel, if you will, and just having the most amount of knowledge and wisdom and understanding human emotions, like all that stuff is what makes you a great actor, not the quality of your voice. So definitely focus on that. And yeah, I think what Ryan said there is 100% accurate.
All right. So acting in or trying to become a voice actor during the pandemic, what was that like?
Well, fortunately, voice over was able to shift into remote. You only use your voice, so you don't have to really be present. It's not like theater or film, which got really destroyed by COVID for a while. With voiceover, as long as you could provide the voice and send that over, you're set. So this was an industry that very quickly shifted to a remote setup, and so yeah, I was recording a lot of my stuff from home, and it took a bit to get all that set up and audio treat my closet, which is right next to me here, where I have all the acoustic panels up and all the blankets around to make sure it's not too echoey and stuff like that, and find the right equipment and sort of engineer a little bit as well as acting. Usually an actor's job is just to act. You go into the studio, you do your thing. You don't have to worry about the technical stuff. The audio engineers take care of that for you. But the COVID forced us to become a bit of engineers as well. So that was an interesting transition, but because of that shift to remote, I as long as I was sending in good auditions, I was getting roles, and as long as I had a good enough setup to record, at a professional level, which I did, I was financially stable enough where I could afford all of the equipment that I needed to just have a professional booth. Yeah, I was just like I was kicking off and running. So the hard part was just like not actually being able to network with people. Not being able to like meet actors and directors and casting people and like really get to know them and form those connections that may have them keep you more in their mind, or allow me to just straight up be more ingrained in the community because everyone was just so apart and so like locked in. So that was a bit of a shame, but that's slowly starting to change, and we're starting to get back to normalcy a little more. We're hanging out more. We're meeting people face to face. But yeah, the networking aspect really, I think, is what COVID especially crippled. But the voice acting itself, we had the technology to do it, fortunately, and it's just voice for the most part. Performance capture, I'm sure that got there were some setbacks there, but yeah, that aside, it wasn't the worst thing. It could have been worse.
What was it like for like matching flaps during those home recordings?
Yeah, it's a little more difficult with anime voice acting. Obviously, you're dubbing over what the Japanese actors did and what the animation shows. So yeah, you have to do it within a specific time frame, and everyone's internet setup is different, and so things can be a little out of sync, a little stuttery. Usually when you're in the studio, They play the footage for you as you're recording, and it's the footage is smooth. There's no delays or anything. But doing it through the internet, sometimes you can't see all the flaps. Sometimes the frame rate, dips, if you will. And so the mouth will be open when it should be opening and closing. And so you kind of have to just like instinctually, I don't know. The way I do it is I look at the end. They have a time code usually when you're doing dubbing, and they show you the preview. And so I look at where the footage ends, like what the exact second it ends. And I use that as my marker for, okay, I need to finish my dialogue by that second. And that helps me find the rhythm and the pacing and the cadence to fit my dialogue within the confines of, what is required based on what the animators did and what the Japanese dub did. So yeah, that was harder than it would be in studio because of some technical issues here and there and internet delays. But we made it work. At the end of the day, the audio engineers are able to, to a degree, compress or shrink or extend lines a little bit while maintaining the pitch so that it still sounds natural. But if it's way off, you just gotta do more takes until you get it right. And so, I probably did more takes than usual than if I were in studio, where I would have been able to sync everything up a lot better. But we worked through it in the end, and we've gotten used to it.
So what would you say is kind of like the benefit or disadvantage to doing something like that versus something like a video game? Do you get like a more freedom for a video game, or?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really depends on the video game. Some video games are, dubbing over what the Japanese already did. But even then, if it's like, text dialogue, like in-game text dialogue, then it's like you have a certain amount of time to do that dialogue in. But within that, you can do whatever you want because you don't have to match lip flaps. With anime, though, it's like very, very much more... it's a lot more specific in terms of exactly the cadence you have to match. But then there are other video games where they animate around you. You do the prelay, you do the performance, and then they take that and then make the characters' mouths move to your performance. And that's the most sublime form of acting, when you have all the freedom in the world to really...
You get that with dubs?
You mean like anime dubs?
Yeah.
With anime dubs, it's the complete opposite, where you're constrained by... the exact number of lip flaps, and the writing can sometimes be a little weird because they have to have the exact number of syllables as the Japanese dub and stuff like that. So they have to like write things in a weird way where words are
Wait, so when do you get it just right?
When do I get it just right? What do you mean?
In terms of what you were just referring to earlier.
Oh, the matching the lip flaps, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you get that right when it's all within the allotted time frame, and just the audio engineers will tell you like, okay, that looks good and that sounds good. Moving on to the next line. Otherwise, you just have to keep doing it until it looks and sounds right. Yeah. So some people refer to anime dubbing as a voice acting boot camp. It is, I think, the hardest form of voice acting, and the one that's most underpaid, weirdly enough.
Very trial and error. Like you have to follow the beeps and everything.
Exactly. You do eventually get better at it, though. You eventually start just getting used to, like, a lot of it is like looking at your line and also looking at the picture. So because you have to also like say the lines, and they don't give you lines beforehand. You don't have time to memorize them. You have to just go for it. And so you're both like trying to keep what the exact words are while looking at the lip flaps, while trying to make sure you end at the right time. You're juggling like 3 different things while doing anime voice acting. But with video games and American animation, a lot of it which they do prelay, where they'll animate around you, you can really, it's your sandbox. Do whatever you want, go at the cadence you want, whatever pauses you need to add, whatever nuances you need to add, you can do that. And then the animators. But
then how many video games out of like the ones that are coming out can be applied to that?
In terms of prelay, I mean, I recently did
Ghost
a couple
of
months
Tsushima,
ago.
Like I know we get that.
Yeah. I mean,
right?
With Ghost of Tsushima, they did motion capture, and I actually did a bit of performance capture a couple months ago for a project that I can't say what it is for yet. It's for a AAA game though, and there I could really just perform and do what I felt like was appropriate to do based on what the script was telling me and based on my choices as an actor. And yeah, that all that stuff is going to make it in the game, and there were no constraints. because I was shaping the character live, and now they just have to touch it up. And yeah, that's kind of the best kind of acting, really, when you can do whatever, and it's a true representation of your acting performance without those limitations that sometimes, God, one of the worst things is like in anime dubbing, when you do the take that you're like, the emotion hit just right, but then they're like, we're like a couple frames short, we got to redo the take, and then you lose the emotional nuance, but you get the technical nuance. And it's like, but the other performance was better, but this is the one that has to go in, the worst take, the slightly worse take, because it's the one that happens to match the flaps better. You don't get that with video game, prelay dubbing usually, because they're shaping the animation around you. So stuff like that sucks, but it's still a great exercise. And if you can do anime voice acting and do it well, you can do any other kind of voice acting. That's like S tier difficulty voice acting as far as I'm concerned. Like, yeah, anime voice dubbers need a lot more credit than I think people give them credit for.
Now, you just mentioned that you got into like a something that you were able to record and you were able to put your own emotion into it. Was that like full facial capture? Did they put dots on your face?
Yeah, they did.
Thing? Oh, that's
for the
really
performance capture thing. Yeah. So whatever faces I put on, that's gonna be represented in the game. And then I did this Cartoon Network thing. There, obviously, it's 2D animation, but they didn't put dots on my face, but I could still like just take my time with each line, really think about what I want to do with it, add pauses, add nuances, go at whatever pace that I felt was appropriate for the line and for the emotion that needed to come across, and then to say, great, we like that one, and from there, they'll animate around me. I'm curious to see how that animation turns out. I don't know if it's out yet, the thing. I don't think I'm allowed to say what it is yet.
You're
until
fine.
It comes out.
Yeah, no worries. Have you ran into anybody that knew who you were, like, outside of voice acting? Like, have you ever gone into a recording session and they realized, oh my God, it's you?
Huh.
It's like reverse of what you would see normally.
Like another voice actor recognizing me?
Or staff members or anything like that?
Every once in a while, yeah. I've had that happen where some people have had seen my content before, and then they're like, "Wait, are you?" And they always people are afraid to be like, "Oh, I don't want to confuse Asians, otherwise I'm going to be offensive." Because some people are like, "Are you pro ZD?" I'm like, "Nope, not pro ZD." No. Yep. But so some people are like, "Oh, I don't want to make that mistake," so I'm gonna be like, "I feel like you look like somebody, like a YouTuber," and they want me to say like, "Yeah, no, I'm YongYea," so that they don't have to say it in case it's the wrong guess, and then have risk offending me. But yeah, I don't care. People, but that when that happens, it's really flattering. It's really cool. And sometimes a few voice actors are like, "Oh yeah, I saw your content way back when you covered one of my games," and we'll meet. We'll hang out and chat that way. It's happened. But it's one of the things about voice acting is I personally don't want to be so famous that I can't go out anywhere and everyone will recognize me and stuff like that. That just sounds like not a great lifestyle to me. So voice acting, what I like is that you get to do the work and find that fulfillment in the craft, and be recognized by enthusiasts and people who really love the stuff you do, but you can still go out and still be relatively anonymous enough.
That's like
you can still go to the bathroom and meet Kojima
and shake hands with Kojima with a wet hand,
with a wet piss hand.
I feel like that's like Jim Cummings is a great example of. I don't know how many people would actually know what Jim Cummings looks like, right? Even though if you heard his voice, you'd be like, "Oh my gosh, that's Jim Cummings."
Yeah.
But to see him on the street, I don't know how many people would be able to see him and go, "Oh my God, that's Jim Cummings."
Yeah, exactly.
Even though so go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, that's the lifestyle I like. It's nice to be flattered and known by people, but I don't want it to be like a daily occurrence. I like some of my privacy and stuff. So, and a lot of voice actors will express the same thing. They like the anonymity of the fact that not everyone looks up what does this character's voice actor look like. They just know the name, I guess, and that's fine by me.
That's awesome. All right, before we move on from here, I have one last thing about voice acting that I want to talk about, and that is this right here.
Sure.
So for me,
oh yes,
I love JoJo. I read the manga,
me too.
as kind of growing up, and as someone that really loves the series, but in the anime wasn't like super stoked on the adaptation for seasons 1 and then for most of the like original Jotaro arc. It's Unbreakable, Diamond is Unbreakable, and Stone Ocean are like the two things that I was like, please adapt these. And of course we got Diamond is Unbreakable, but there was like kind of this thing with the one after that, which I'm blanking on for some reason. The one that takes place in Italy.
Oh yeah, Part 5. Golden Wind.
Golden Wind. Thank you. When Golden Wind was happening, there was a lot of talk that we may not get Stone Ocean, and I was like, no, we have to get Jolene, like, please.
Yeah.
And then, of course, like fans came through, the uproar of how many people wanted it. Netflix decided to pick it up, and lo and behold, I see you announce it on your channel when they announce it, and on your Twitter account that you are in JoJo.
Yeah.
What is that like? Not only that, but you are the main villain of this arc.
I still can't believe that my life somehow has led to this. Like, it's like this miracle within itself, where it's like, what are the odds that of all people, I'd be in the right place at the right time to seize this audition and to be able to do just the right performance with that audition to get this part that so many other people would have, sought after, and so many other people would have been great for. What are the odds that I happen to be the one to get picked for this? Like, it's unbelievable to me as someone who, for a while thought, man, voice acting is like so far away. Like, it seems so out of reach, when I'm not doing it. But then, like, once I started pursuing it, it's like, I was able to grasp it. And it's still just, I can hardly believe it still. It's one of the greatest honors of my life to voice a JoJo main villain. And I would have been happy to voice any JoJo character. That's when I decided to do voice acting. At that point, I'd seen enough of JoJo where I was like, I definitely need to be in this show one day. And I figure maybe, 5-10 years down the line, I'll play like a background character on it or something. I'll play, I don't know, a side character maybe at most. The main villain is something I never dreamed of. But I take the responsibility very seriously, though. It's like once you get a role that big, it's like you have to consider people are going to watch this and have expectations about this character. And so I really read up on this character, made sure I knew everything I needed to know about who he is, and working with the director and collaborating there, we put our best foot forward, and so far, fortunately, fans have been really receptive to it, and I hope to put that energy back into the next batch, which is coming out on September 1st, right? Sometime in September. Yeah. I'm really excited for that next batch. Yeah.
I'm honestly very grateful that it's coming out slower like this, because I honestly don't know if we're going to get Steel Ball Run. I don't know
really
if you know what Steel Ball Run is. Speaking to everybody here, not just you, but it is kind of a very big tonal shift for the series.
Yeah.
But the hardest thing about it is that there's a lot of horses. Horses are very expensive to animate.
Oh. Welp. Really? Is that a thing? Horses are very expensive to animate.
Yeah,
I never knew that.
They're a very complex creature, so to make them look good. And when you're talking about Steel Ball Run, which has a lot of horse stuff going on, being kind of like that Old West style, there's a lot of speculation in the JoJo YouTube circles as to whether or not we're going to get Steel Ball Run.
I hope we do, because I know for a lot of people, I think it's their favorite.
Yeah,
is that the one with Valentine as the villain?
I'm so bad with names. But I think so. I think that is true.
Yeah.
I was about to look it up too, but I hear your keys clacking, so I'm gonna let you.
Yeah, I just want to make sure. Funny Valentine. Yeah, Steel Ball Run. A lot of people love Funny Valentine, the main villain. So it'd be a lot of people are really hoping that they come through with that.
He's great. I just couldn't remember if that was his name or not.
Yeah.
Blanking. But yeah, no, it's absolutely something that I hope happens. It's just yeah, there's a lot of speculation as to whether or not it's going to be too expensive. We'll see. I'm really excited though.
Definitely.
But like I said, I'm glad that your run is coming out a little slower, because it'll give them more time to hopefully build up a following on the Netflix run and get enough drive to actually go through with it.
Yeah, there's a lot of mixed feedback surrounding the release schedule, though, because I know a lot of people miss JoJo Fridays. It's like that weekly anticipation of, oh my God, what's going to happen next? But yeah, others are like, I love the batch releases because I got to just like watch them all at once and, really allow every batch to marinate in between. So it depends on who you ask, I guess. But still exciting to see how the season turns out.
Is absolutely amazing.
Oh, thank you.
I just love the villain energy that you put into that character.
I love playing villains. They're a lot of fun, and they're a little tougher to play because like even with villains as an actor, you got to find points of empathy with them that you can latch onto to be able to like express what needs to be expressed from that character. But yeah, what I love about Poochie is, and you will definitely find this out throughout as the series goes on, is like he's, I think, a little more complex than your typical JoJo main villain, where he's not just like power hungry or petty. It's like he believes what he's doing is what's best for humanity. It's like he believes himself to be a force for good and wants to like save people in his own weird, cruel way. So that dichotomy, I think, is really fascinating to play.
And I think that's one of the things that makes oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the writer's name, but every single run every single run that he's created is a step forward. It's him evolving as a writer, him evolving as an artist, him evolving in his fashion, the way that he designs his characters. It's so crazy because I don't know if there's any other artist out there. Like if you read One Piece evolves over time, and the art gets better and whatnot as the run goes on. But it's not the same as the evolution that goes through every single arc of JoJo.
Yeah, it's almost like an art style shift. Like there's enough of that Araki art style, but it's like you look at Jotro's design from part 3 to part 6. It looks very different. Vastly different. And I don't know. I think it's really cool to just mix it up and change it up like that.
All right. So that was the kind of last thing that I wanted to talk about because I know you were really excited to get that role, and I have been really excited to watch it. So
thank you.
It's been
finding out I got that role is like one of the happiest days of my life. I couldn't believe that was a possibility. But I can't wait to finish out the rest of Stone Ocean, which goes places. For those who've read the manga will know. Like, man, it's a hell of a conclusion. Yeah.
So now I want to get
one question that I don't want to stretch all of this even more, but I want to ask this.
Okay.
How did we get from like covering video games once your channel started taking off? How did you decide to, okay, maybe it's worthwhile doing the voiceover thing?
Yeah, it's acting has always been a part of my life, or at least for a lot of my life. And so I knew at some point I want to find a way to keep doing acting. And, I love video games. And so voice acting allows me to, one day maybe be a part of one. And to me, that was an exciting prospect. And so, once the YouTube channel was in a good place where I'm like, all right, this will allow me to financially be able to afford living in LA, which is an expensive city. That's when I was like, I have the financial means now to pursue voice acting without worrying about like, oh my God, I need money. I need, I was established at that point and saved up enough money where I felt like I could just do this as a passion project rather than a job. You know what I mean? And so, that was the moment where I was like, I'm ready. And I'd done enough acting, 8 years of acting at that point where I'm like, I feel good about my talents. And I feel
but excuse me, French, but like 8 years of acting where you were like not where you wanted to be, and then your YouTube channel getting there, and then like how does that work? How does that work for you internally?
8 years of not being there, in what sense?
Like not getting the voice roles you wanted to get until until YouTube was a thing.
Well, I wasn't really pursuing voice acting in those 8 years. I was mainly doing theater.
Right.
With some voice acting on the side, where I auditioned for some mods and some free projects. But yeah, I don't know. It just once you do enough acting, you eventually get to a point where you just kind of like you can see the growth, you can feel the growth, and so you get to a point where you feel pretty good about your talents, based on just how people
like your strengths and weaknesses, and
your weaknesses, and which is definitely important to acknowledge because you want to take classes or find ways to like make up for your weaknesses or to bolster the areas where you're weaker, and evolve those performances so you can really expand your range of performances. But yeah, it was acting and YouTube were always sort of in parallel. Acting kind of dropped off for a bit. YouTube took precedence. And then after that, once I really started missing acting, and once YouTube was in a good place, I brought acting right back. I'm like, I got to go back to this and see what I can do with it. And then I moved to LA just like without much of a plan. I didn't know exactly how I was going to go. I expected to land on my face and just go back home after a year or something. But fortunately, it's gone places that I never dreamed they would. Honestly, within this time span, I thought I'd be much more behind, but. Fortunately, I went for it, pursued my dreams, and gave myself a little credit, enough credit to be like, you can do this, which I think is something that a lot of people don't do enough of. Give yourself a little credit, pat yourself on the back a little bit, and like acknowledge you're good at what you do, because everyone's just trying to figure their shit out. Even the best actors kind of don't know really what they're doing. Nobody knows what they're doing really. We're all trying to figure it out as we go. But with a little self-reflection and knowing where you're at talent-wise, and being critical of yourself, but in a way where you're kind to yourself, allows you to, I think, have the confidence to pursue something that you can do, even if you don't, that maybe you don't believe in yourself, but you definitely can. And yeah,
so beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
All right, so this is the section of the show where we get into some community questions and stuff that people sent in. I gave everyone else the questions, so I'm just going to read a couple comments that people left that weren't necessarily questions. Rahulahoop at Rahulahoop_ says, "So dope. Really looking forward to checking out this episode. Been watching YongYea's videos for years now." And he gives you the flexing emoji.
Well, that's it's always great to hear when people are like, "Man, I've been watching you for a while, forever." Because like when you're YouTubing here, kind of by yourself, I rarely get to see people outside because a lot of my work takes place in the studio, and it's sometimes easy to forget. Like, all right, people like watch this stuff and it has an impact, and so like it's always nice to have a reminder of that. So I really appreciate those kind words from generous folks.
And then we have Richard-TCGview.com at TCGview, who says, "YongYea makes me feel a sense of pride and accomplishment."
You son of a bitch.
I figured that was directed at you.
Yep, it sure is. But I as long as it's the genuine type of sense of pride and accomplishment, I'm all for it.
And then the question that I actually saved when I realized I sent all the questions to other people is from at Kate Bishop Lover. Okay, sorry, they used like zeros and stuff. I had to figure that out.
No worries.
What Marvel character would you like to voice if given the chance in a video game or animated show/movie?
Ooh, wow. That's tough. So many. Wolverine, honestly, would be an interesting one to tackle. He's got that ferocity, but underneath that, there's heart there. Characters like that I think really appeal to me. I'd love to play a version of Spider-Man one day. He is one of my favorite superheroes. But Yuri Lowenthal just kills it. So it's like I wouldn't mind at all if Yuri Lowenthal played Spider-Man forever.
I mean, it's okay though because he's playing that character at 50. So in 20 years, when they reboot the franchise, you can do it too.
Yeah, hopefully, I can pull off my younger voice maybe, until my 50s instead of getting down here all of a sudden. Hey guys. We'll see how my voice evolves. Spider-Man is a younger fellow. Yuri has such a youthful voice, even in his,
he's incredible.
Yeah, an amazing performer. But I'd say those two are some good candidates for Marvel characters. And I mean, if there are some Korean superheroes they can bring to the forefront, I'd love to play a Korean superhero that just hasn't gotten to shine yet.
That'd be awesome. Have they announced who's voicing Wolverine yet?
No, I don't think so.
Game? I'm very intrigued to see who that's going to be.
Me too. It's gonna. They're probably gonna get a major actor. Like I feel like they might go for a Hollywood actor. I don't know. Like this is a big role big shoes to fill. Though I hope if it can go to like a prominent, like a talented, deserving voice actor who can also do performance a capture. I hope it can go to them.
I do.
Do you care? Did they have to be a voice actor?
I mean, I think you just have to find whoever is right for the role. That's the most important thing. The person that can most authentically portray the vision for Wolverine that you have. And that may be a Hollywood actor if it comes to that. And that actor just happens to be perfect for the role, then they're perfect for the role, and that's that. But if a voice actor is perfect for the role, I hope they don't get snuffed out,
Makes sense.
At the end of the day, it's all acting, It's like there's this divide of like voice acting, TV acting. It's like, yeah, and there are different styles.
There's that big divide where like, no, I don't want Jack Black doing this this lead in this animation, the theatrical animation or whatever.
Right.
And it's like, okay, you don't want Jack Black, but
right.
I don't know.
It's all
John
acting.
DiMaggio. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
As long as your acting chops are there and you can portray the character, it doesn't matter where you're from. Just cast correctly and don't let Hollywood biases and don't cast just for the status of a person. Cast because they actually got the part because they were right for the part.
I do hope that they cast somebody for that role that's never played the character before. Someone who can bring something fresh to it. I mean, obviously, there's been a bunch of great people that have played the character over the years, but I'd love to see like a fresh face in that role.
I think that's what they're gonna go for. I can't imagine them casting, a Hugh Jackman or something. that'd be a little weird.
I was thinking of the guy that plays Spike Spiegel. He's been Wolverine before.
Oh, right? Steve Bloom, yeah.
Bloom, thank you. I was like Steve, but I couldn't remember his last name. I'm just not killing it with names today. But yeah, Steve Bloom, and then somebody played him in the anime, the Wolverine anime.
That's right.
It surprised me when I saw who it was, but I can't remember who that was off the top of my head right now. And then of course there was that new podcast radio show Wolverine thing that came out, where a pretty big Hollywood actor played Logan, which was really interesting.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so he's had like a lot of adaptations over the years, and then I'd really like to see a new take on it.
I agree. And I feel like that's probably what they're going to go for. I think Insomniac wants to do their own take on the character and really make it their own identity, which I feel like they did with Spider-Man. They really made their own version of that character while still being true to who the character is at its core. So I think they'll kill it. I think they're going to do awesome. I'm so pumped. That's one of my most anticipated games right there. Wolverine from Insomniac is like,
oh my God,
made in heaven.
Top 10 excitement level for sure.
For sure.
All right, Al, you have some community questions for Yong.
I sure do. This one comes in from Caretaker's Mark at Caretaker's Mark. Okay. What was Young's weirdest happening he had to cover on while being in gaming news in all these years? I can answer that.
What's the weirdest thing I had to cover?
Yeah.
Oh, man, the blue box stuff is up there, honestly. That was pretty. There's something else that happened recently. What was it? I said it's like one of the most bizarre things. Right, Hideo Kojima getting pinned or getting misidentified as the Shinzo Abe assassin because some politician took a 4chan post too seriously, and then put that out there as a fact, which then international news channels picked up and reported as if that were like, this is the era we live in, ladies and gentlemen.
How crazy is that? That was my answer.
Yeah. No, that you
100%.
were right there. That's probably the weirdest thing I've ever covered.
I have another one. Okay.
The fact that they had to respond to that, like the fact that Kojima Productions put out a statement for that whole incident is just wild to me.
Yeah. They said we take this stuff seriously and we will pursue legal action. And I'm like, yeah, you should, because that's a very serious
accusation. You can't fucking say that about Kojima. Like, the fuck is wrong with you? All right. I'm filling in the blanks here. Is Yong gonna grow out his hair for a big boss ponytail again? Dude rock that look like no other.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know. Everyone has different opinions about whether my hair should be long or short. It grows out when I get lazy and I just don't feel like shaving my hair off. But I mean, it's a little grown out now. It'll take a couple more months to get to that level. We'll see. Maybe I'll be, come winter, maybe I'll be in the mood to just like have a little extra coverage on my head to keep me warm. So not ruling it out.
I just want to say that comes from Clayom Dub, CLAIOMHDUBH on Twitter.
Okay. Well, thank you for the question. Oh, Clayom. Oh, that's I know him. That he's my good friend Tim from Delaware, actually. Well, hello to you, I guess.
That's awesome.
Awesome. All right. Are we going to keep going with my questions?
Yep. Yeah, I figure we'll just go down in a row, get yours out of the way, and then we'll do Gage's.
Sure.
Get yours out of the way.
You know what I mean. Speak, sir.
All right. We're doing, oh my God. RSN Ramboss. Ramboss. At Ramboss. _ What is Yong's favorite game? Also, let him know that he is the GOAT, please.
Well, that's very, very kind of you to say. Man, my favorite game, honestly, I'd say, like, it's always like between Metal Gear Solid and Zelda Ocarina of Time, but man, I gotta say, Ocarina of Time had such a huge impact on me. It's the first game that really made me feel like I was going on an adventure, and there was mystery to find at every corner of this open world, and there was just nothing like it at the time, and it's one of the most impactful games. For me, a favorite game isn't like what's the most technically the best game, what plays the best. Like, for me, it's like my favorite game is like what kind of impression did that game leave on me. Like Ocarina of Time, in certain areas, it's aged not as well as other games and all that. But in terms of like the impact that it had at the time that it came out, there was nothing like it. It blew my mind. It's one of those like 10 out of 10 masterpieces that I'm like, without question. And even today it holds up. I feel like replayed on the 3DS with the Ocarina of Time 3D, and that was just still as much fun as it was back then. So I'd put that game up there.
If they were to remake Ocarina of Time, would that be a game you'd want to see like a reimagining of? Or would it be something you'd want to see like Unreal Engine 5 level assets, but play is almost identical?
I'd like to see them modernize some things for sure. The game could use that. But I wouldn't, in terms of like dungeons and all these things, I wouldn't want them to mess around with it too much. The game's just so perfect. Maybe add some more interesting side activities here and there, but the main campaign, I'd want it to be pretty faithful to the original. Maybe add a few bits of extra puzzles here and there, I guess, in between. But it's so perfect as it is for me that I don't feel like they really have to go crazy with reimagining it a la FF7 remake,
Yeah, I always think of like, do you want it to be like Demon Souls, or do you want it to be like Final Fantasy VII? Those are like the examples.
I'd say with Ocarina of Time, I want it to be closer to Demon Souls, with some modernizations here and there, but nothing quite. I don't want a drastic remake of Ocarina like FF7 remake, I don't think.
All right, Yong. You just picked two of EGM's only 10 out of 10 games in that year. And I will never forget that, because those two games are my favorite games of all time. It's just a struggle between those two.
Me too.
I'm not gonna lie. So if you had to pick one, this is just my own question. Out of those two, Ocarina of Time, MGS. Pick one.
I'm sorry, Metal Gear fans, but I think by the tiniest of hairs, I'm gonna have to go with Ocarina of Time. There's just God, I do love both games, but there's just something about Ocarina's sense of adventure that's
Right?
that I just remember so vividly.
The open-worldness that you got in 3D from that game, you never got from anything else before that, including Super Mario 64.
Yeah, and I mean the music in both games is amazing, but man, Zelda Ocarina of Time has some really iconic music in there. It's such a comprehensive and varied package. And the dungeons are always I love solving puzzles, and so the dungeons are really, really cool. I got to give it to Ocarina just by a hair. But I love how cinematic Metal Gear Solid is, and I love stealth gameplay.
It changed who we are.
Yeah, it really did.
I
honestly.
totally get it.
Yeah.
My last community question comes from Jacob Hyde, author. Exactly. If you had a chance to make a game with total control over every aspect, what kind of game would you make?
Man, that's a lot. Man, there's so many. I would love to make like a cyberpunk stealth game, like a Metal Gear type of game, but in a cyberpunk setting where your weapons and items and your stealth tools are based on that like somewhat retro sci-fi kind of technology, and you'd go around and
Metal Gear,
something like that. Yeah. And
like a police knots Metal Gear.
maybe, yeah, exactly.
Oh, let's go.
Yeah, be it focused on infiltrating a facility or assassinating a target. I don't know, just something. I feel like the stealth genre just has kind of gone away a little bit. It's kind of been hibernating. And Assassin's Creed doesn't really feel like a stealth game anymore. Splinter Cell, who knows what's going to happen with that. Metal Gear, it's kind of gone. Hitman is like the only thing we got right now that's like, and I guess maybe like Dishonored and stuff like that. But yes, a stealth-focused cyberpunk game is what I'd maybe try to make. It sounds really, really dope to me.
It makes me think of something like Katana Zero. Like I think something in a universe kind of like Katana Zero, but like a stealth espionage would be really cool.
Another dream project for me would be a the boss centered Metal Gear Solid game, one that tells her origin story. In World War II, going through all that. That's a game that Kojima did want to make. He said in an interview before the whole Konami Kojima thing went down. So to revive that project and have the boss game that tells her origins and leading up to and how that ties into the events of Metal Gear Solid 3, like. That I'd fund that in a heartbeat.
If you want to get more in depth on that idea, go check out Kind of Funny's P.S. I Love You XOXO with none other than YongYea, because they go quite deep into the future of Metal Gear and that idea in particular.
Yes, we do. And I'm crushed that we're probably never going to get that because of how things went down. But oh well.
I'm still holding out hope that one of the big companies like Sony or Microsoft establishes some sort of rights deal that's like, hey, we have this thing with Konami, they're not going to have any involvement, but we want you, if you want to oversee a Metal Gear project, whether he has like a younger person that he trusts like on a team that's making it and he's just kind of overseeing it, or they hand it off to a different developer, but he's overseeing it. Like, I still have hope that some sort of deal like that will happen.
Yeah, it's not an impossibility. And there's rumors behind the scenes that Konami is, licensing out a lot of their IPs. And so maybe, Metal Gear can go to the right studio and maybe Kojima can consult at least on some level. I don't know. But
on the flip side, anything that he touches, he's so meticulous in every single frame that I can't, at the same time, as much as I want it, I can't see him not going complete, hands-on with a project. And I don't know if he wants to go back to that world like that.
I don't know. We'll see. Because like with the Metal Gear Solid movie, he kind of handed that over to Jordan Vogt Roberts, and I don't know if that's still in development or not. It's been a while since we last heard about it, but I feel like Kojima has kind of moved on and is willing to maybe let his child hang out with some other folks. You know what I mean?
I hope so.
Yeah. We'll see. I think some fresh ideas from a new studio while still having Kojima just in case, just to consult him on certain things. Maybe would be
even if he just wrote the first draft of the script or something like that.
Yeah. We'll see. I as long as Konami isn't developing a Metal Gear game internally. Last time that happened, we got Metal Gear Survive. So let's never repeat that again. So yeah.
Gage, before we get into your community questions, there's a very important question that you love to ask people as he inches closer to the mic.
What's happening?
Oh no!
So,
what have I gotten myself into?
This is the first time I can actually change the question up a bit, and I can just ask.
This is true.
Did you ever think we would live in a world where Capcom announces a sequel to Dragon's Dogma?
No, man, dude, that we have been graced, we have been blessed. I was half expecting that would never happen, but when they announced that, was it the 30th? No, was it 10th anniversary? Dragon's Dogma 10th anniversary event. I was like, maybe okay, this because they're like, I feel like they I think it was during Capcom's event where they're like, fans might want to tune in to this thing we're doing. Just saying. And I'm like, oh, that sounds like it could be something. But then, like, I remember watching it live, and it was like a 10-minute thing, and I'm like, oh, this seems too short for like a proper announcement. And like 99% of that was spent just reliving the history of Dragon's Dogma 1. And I'm like, oh, it's just like a little celebration thing. It's not gonna happen. And then they take off they undo their jacket, and then you see the shirt, and I screamed.
So the emotional roller coaster that whole week was, or I guess technically 2 weeks, when they announced the whole anniversary website and all this stuff, and then the Capcom stream, and just being like,
the pre-order page changing.
I hate everything. How could they do this to me? Then starting that stream, it's like, okay, it's just gonna be Dragon's Dogma 1. This is cool.
Yep.
And they're like showing all this cool stuff, and they keep throwing clips in from the anime, and it's like, why are you torturing me? I don't need to see this. And then that final reveal was just like, I exploded, and I'm like yelling at the top of my lungs, like I couldn't believe it. It's so cool.
There is a god. Yeah,
it's so great. I can't wait.
If you go to Gage's Twitter page, he actually has the Dragon's Dogma 2 logo as his banner right now.
Hell yes,
I had to do it.
Absolutely. Yeah, honestly, that's all you need to do. Just let us know, show us the title, and let us know you're working on it. And then from there, take your time. Don't rush it. Show us gameplay when you're ready to show it. Just make it as good as it can be. I'll wait.
God, that RE engine is gonna do such wonders for that game.
Oh man,
oh my!
That RE engine worked magic, not for just Resident Evil, but Monster Hunter is now shifted to RE engine. So I
can't wait to see World 2.
Devil May Cry too.
Reach for the moon, baby. Right. Reach for the moon.
Now we just need
that engine's.
We just need Lost Planet. Just give me a proper.
Oh man, please. Man, that's that to me seems like an even less likely prospect. But I know
they killed it. With
the big thing for Dragon's Dogma is that the director was championing to do that. He wanted to do Devil May Cry 5, and he wanted to do Dragon's Dogma 2. He finished Devil May Cry 5. And was like, now it's time for Dragon's Dogma 2, but of course couldn't say that.
They were like, no, you have to remaster Devil May Cry 5
first.
We're here. It's happening.
But you're the first guest that he's actually been able to say that to. Normally he asks, what are your thoughts on Dragon's Dogma? But
right.
Just trying to.
It's always one of my favorite parts of the show.
I'm ecstatic.
Yeah, I can't wait. All right, so the first question comes from Neo Aoshi. He asks, what would be your boss code name in Metal Gear?
My boss code name? Oh, man. I haven't thought about that one. God, would it end in man? Would it be an animal? I have to think about this one.
What about an emotion?
Oh, an emotion? That's the thing. The thing. The hype. Yeah, I don't know, man.
What were the women in Metal Gear Solid 4? What were their code names?
The Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah,
like Laughing Octopus.
Laughing Octopus, yeah.
It was an emotion and an animal. So
yeah, exactly.
Bringing it full circle, yeah. So hyped hippopotamus. No, hyped tiger. I don't know. Hyped. Well, actually, technically, Yong in Korean means dragon. And this is true. So the hyped dragon.
That's great. I love that.
I just imagine that as the character
hyped Dragon Man. Hyped Dragon Man.
You know the character from My Hero Academia that's always on the mic. I forget his name.
Oh yeah, I know
the guy they use for the announcer for everything.
Yeah,
I just imagine that's your character. You like get on a mic and you're like, "All right, come on, Snake,
Yong out."
Oh gosh.
All right, question number 2 comes from Dem Nico Art. They ask, how is Yong managing being a public figure, professionally and personally, especially dealing with such a big exposure in a landscape, unfortunately known for toxicity and stupid arguments? I'm assuming he's referring to like anime fandom and just technically fandoms in general.
Fandoms, period.
Or YouTube and the internet.
Sure. And does it have a toll on him, or do the positive experiences outweigh the negatives?
I do think ultimately the positives do outweigh the negatives. But yeah, there are days where you'll see one comment out of, it's so weird though. Like we as human beings have a tendency to focus on the one negative thing instead of on the 1,000 positive things. So it's like, it's been about me just keeping in mind that for every one awful comment, there's 1,000 that are really positive and really supportive. And it's just like, it's all about perspective. So, over time, I've learned to manage that better and to not let that get me down so much. Funny enough, it has helped with dealing with, like 90% of your voice acting career is rejection because you're auditioning and you're not getting the parts. And it's like only a small percentage of the auditions you turn in, get some kind of reply. So compared to YouTube comments or, internet trolls or whatever, haters, getting rejected for an audition no longer feels like anything. I'm like, I've hardened my skin up enough for this at this point when I can, deal with rejecting dumb YouTube comments that I know aren't worth taking seriously. So it's easier said than done. It's just a mentality you have to learn to get yourself into. And that took years to develop. But these days, I'm not super focused on the negative comments, and I try to just focus on the people who are constructively critical. I don't mind that. If you like have something to criticize that you're like, I wish, you would do this or that. And so you present it in a respectful way, then I'll take that into consideration. I welcome feedback. So I'll focus on that and also on just like people expressing, that my content has resonated with them, has impacted them in a positive way and stuff like that. That's more meaningful than one guy in a basement raging at his keyboard who, his relevance, he becomes as relevant as you make him or her or whoever, whoever's sending that hate message. Their relevance is tied to how much relevance you give it. So if it's not worth engaging with, don't, because it's never worth it. That's what they want. They want the feeling of validation that, yes, I made this guy pissed off. Don't give them that. They're really literally worthless. They have nothing to contribute. And if you can keep that mindset, they kind of become nothing. And that's how I look at them, at the haters. Yeah.
Timur Hussein said something similar to that, but he also added that they are people that wish they could be you, but aren't good enough to be.
Yeah. And it's they could be if they put the work in and focus more on, honing their own talents instead of, raging about somebody else they're jealous about, or are hating on for no good reason, really, like engaging at a level that's just not warranted. So yeah, it is what it is, honestly. Like it's just, you gotta just learn to understand how meaningless and how unimpactful those people are in the grand scheme of things. Like they're not going to ruin your career. They just want to make you feel bad. Don't let them have that win because they're worthless. They really are.
Yeah, take that, haters. You're worthless.
Except for David Hater. We love you.
Only haters.
Well, then, yeah. Yeah,
The
one
only hater we love.
But yeah, those who are constructively critical, I welcome that criticism. Those people I don't think are worthless. They sometimes have really valid points. But yeah, I'm talking about the haters.
Yeah, just the people
assholes.
that are just shitting on things because it's just
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, third question comes from Jose Carlos. They ask, curious on how you balance your time between VO and YouTube. Also, I guess this is two-part, so that's the first question. And then the second part is, picture this. David Hayter is unavailable for some reason, and you're given the chance to voice Solid Snake in an anime adaptation or even a remake, if we give ourselves room to dream. Would you do it?
I would first contact David Hayter and make sure I get his blessing. That to me is important. He is the OG Snake, and I his influence has been too great for me to just like take on the role. As exciting as that sounds, it's like you have to think about the fans and the fact that they would very much like to see David Hayter return. And also, I have to respect the fact that David has played this character for all these years. So much of it is him. And I have a conversation with him first. And if the stars align and if things seem right, it seems like, people are on board ultimately, it would be an opportunity that I'd relish, yes. But only with the right blessings, and only if David, for whatever reason, wouldn't be up to it, which I highly doubt would ever be the case. He still loves that role, and he'd come back in a heartbeat. So yeah, that'd be my answer for that. And then the first question was, how do I manage my time between VO and YouTube, right?
Correct.
Man, I just like just a lot of just keeping track of my schedule and having a calendar where I like define what I'm gonna do every day, and just like being organized, really. Though I've gotten better at making videos over the years, or I've gotten more efficient at it. I've been editing for 10 years now. I've been making videos for 10 years now. So there's this workflow that I've gotten into, which allows me to make videos faster than I used to, but still maintain the same quality in terms of the research and the information that I present. So I've just gotten more efficient at that, which frees up time for me to also do voiceovers and auditions, but also it just means less free time than I used to have. I used to be able to like make a video and then, take a rest. Now it's like I make a video and then I got to hash out, a couple of auditions, and then maybe I have a session the next day. And so I've just been busier. So I guess, it's just doing my best. That's all it is. Organizing and just keeping track of everything and accepting that I'm going to have less free time. That's what it comes down to.
All right. Last question comes from Gats Days. They ask, this is a great one. What are your thoughts on pineapple as a pizza topping?
Boy, all right. A war is about to brew. Me personally, I am all for it. I don't think it's sacrilege. I like it. And now it has to be a good balance. Some pizza places put way too much pineapple on the thing and it just throws off the balance. But if you put just the right amount with some ham, and you know how to make that kind of pizza, to me it's what's some of my favorite stuff, honestly. I love eating Hawaiian pizza. So I'm sorry for all the people who are about to unsubscribe, but that's a reality. All right, deal with it. But no, I like it, honestly. Yeah,
from us. Unsubscribe from us. Don't unsubscribe from Yong.
Pepperoni or ham with that pineapple, though?
If it's pepperoni, I like just like cheese and pepperoni. If it's ham, I don't mind the pineapple. So with the pineapple, I'd say ham. It's a good combo. I don't know. I think in Venezuela, I grew up eating like there's this ham dish that has like raisins and stuff, and it's a bit of combination of that like sweet and savory. So I think I've always just been used to sweet and savory. I don't mind it. I think it's really good. So with pineapple stuff, it just it's kind of in that vein, and I like it. Yeah.
All right.
Either way, it's your choice. That's the important thing. Nobody's forcing you. We're gonna have to make a war about it. It's like subs versus dubs, pineapple versus no pineapple. Enjoy what you enjoy, and let people enjoy what they enjoy.
And what a world we would live in. Like, how much better it would be if people actually thought that way.
Right? We live in a society.
Did anyone else have anything they wanted to ask?
I think we're good.
I got my question out of the way. The only one that mattered is Dragon's Dogma 2. I mean, come on.
Damn right.
Yong, is there anything that you want to promote or throw out there? Anything coming up where maybe people get to meet you or anything?
Man, I was at Anime Expo the other day. That would have been the opportunity to maybe meet me in person. But if there's something coming up later, if I'm attending like a con or a conference or something, I'll tweet it out. Follow me at YongYea on Twitter if you want to just stay updated on that kind of stuff. My YouTube channel, youtube.com/YongYea. You'll find my news update videos and reviews and whatever I decide to upload that day. And if you're interested in my voiceover endeavors, YongYeaVO.com. You'll find my resume and my reels, and if you happen to have a project you'd like to hire me for, that's the place to check out what I can do. But other than that, yeah, just more content, more VO announcements down the line, hopefully, and excited for the future. And JoJo coming out on September 1st on Netflix. If you like the dub for that, look forward to listening to me as the main villain of that season, which is, again, unbelievable to me, but here we are.
Awesome. If you like this video, please hit that like button, subscribe. It'll be out on audio services someday. And yeah. YongYea, I just want to say, you're pretty good. And you're totally out of our league.
No, you're pretty good. You're all pretty good. That's a good Snake voice, by the way. I can see you've been practicing. But yeah, no, I appreciate you guys having me, and this has been a lot of fun. And I gotta say, with that, I will see you guys next time. Yong out.